good to have a good minivan repairman once in a while. Denney Crabaugh has spent a good part of his life at Oklahoma City University. He's touched thousands of young men and women. He's taught us lessons, things like winning doesn't suck. We learned that from Denney Crabaugh at a campus-wide event a few years ago. But you can imagine the entire student body chanting, "Winning doesn't suck. Winning doesn't suck." It's a memory that will stay with us that we're there forever. Not longer. More importantly, he's taught us how to win with integrity and character and with the humbleness that we all admire. Here to introduce Denney, welcome our assistant coach, who's a member of the OCU Athletic Hall of Fame. He's also the first ever assistant coach to be inducted into the NAIA Hall of Fame. Please welcome Keith Lytle.
Hello everybody. First of all, before I get started, there's something I need to say, and then there's some things I want to say. The first thing I need to say is the one person that I noticed over the years that comes up here on a regular basis and says wonderful things to everybody sitting out there that never really gets it back in return is the man that just walked away from me. Jim Abbott quietly, and I do mean that, quietly runs the best athletic department at the NAIA level in the country. And I'm not saying that because I know I don't need to suck up to Jim. I don't, it's just, I just want everybody to take a second and give the man a big hand. Yeah. Now, on the flip side of things, I got to gripe with Rich because I'm sure Rich put this together. When I was up here, you had pictures of me when I was 20 years old, and then he got to come up and say, "Keith, what happened to you? Could you at least have done me the same favor? Pictures when Denney had hair and all that stuff." No, okay. Tammy, that was awesome, sweetheart. What you just did for Phil, after all the years of being here, is the greatest gift he'll ever receive as a coach. That was such a great speech. TV, you did a great job too. Congratulations, ladies. And I do know one thing, there was another X factor on that team. If you guys couldn't beat a team, which it wasn't anybody you couldn't beat, but if it was a remote possibility, you just send Jen Wells over to break all their legs. Here we go, I'm sorry, Jim. You know, doing this today, I can't begin to tell you guys how thankful I am to stand up here before you today and honor Denney as we induct him into the OCU Hall of Fame. Mindy's happy because she doesn't have to hear Denney say his #1 recruit today, huh? I see you. But I got to tell you guys something. 26 years ago, Denney's job title changed. He was the assistant coach here at OCU, and then he became the head coach here. And shortly thereafter, he hired me as his assistant coach, for better or worse. But I got to tell you a story that happened throughout the course of that year. You know, I can't say I honestly understand this to the complete extent of it, but being a head coach, you have to, that's why I've been a professional assistant coach for 30-some years, because you have to deal with a bunch of stuff that normal people don't like to deal with. Administrative stuff, budgets, scheduling. I get to do all the fun stuff. I get to go throw batting practice. I love the recruiting side of it. I get to mow the field. I get to dig on my mower. You know, small minds, small players. Okay? But I'll never forget one day I was walking out of the building, and it was after a great practice. And, you know, I'm all happy, bouncing off the walls, and I happened to look over to my right, and Denney, you know, was sitting in the stands. Back then, those old routine bleachers that you guys from '94 will remember. And I looked over to my right, and I was like, "What's Denney doing?" He had his head down. I walked up to him, and I said, "Denney, you okay?" And he goes, straight to the point, he goes, "Keith, I need you to do me a big favor." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "I want to switch jobs with you." I want my job back. And I laughed, and I very politely declined. But now, 26 years later, this is a man who after today will have been inducted into four Hall of Fames, okay? Now, he just, January 3rd, I think, I got the date right, was just inducted into the American Baseball Coaches Association, which is the highest honor that you can receive as a baseball coach. This is everybody. Division I, he's in there with legends, and now he's amongst legends, and he, to me, is a legend. He's also in the NAI Hall of Fame. He's also in the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, and now the OCU Hall of Fame. But I want to tell you some things that I personally know Denney doesn't want me to talk about, and I really could care less about too, because they're just numbers to us. If you, hey, think about it, you go out to our baseball field, there's not a national championship banner hanging out there. There's not. It's history. We always focus on the present, and that says a lot about who he is. And that happened before. It's time to go forward, but just for a second, I want to go through this. This is also the man who has compiled a record of 1,268 wins. There aren't a whole lot of coaches that come close to that. Notice I didn't say any losses. Those are mine. That was actually in my contract when I signed to come here. Any losses go to the assistant coach. But 1,268 wins, while leading OCU to 12 national appearances at the National World Series, which is second most of all time in any other school in the country. National championship in 2005. He has produced 80 All-Americans, 62 NAIA Scholar athletes, which I want to tell you is probably more important to that man than the actual first-team All-Americans. He takes a lot of pride in how our guys do in the classroom. 64 Major League Baseball draftees and 132 future professionals, guys that didn't get drafted, either signed free agent or played independent ball. Over the last 15 years, the OCU baseball team has won more games than any other collegiate program in the country. We have the highest winning percentage of any other team in the country, which includes Division I, Division II, junior college, it doesn't matter. We've won more games than anybody in the country. He is also the man who, Jim just told you, I had to throw this out there too, coined the phrase, winning doesn't suck. And Jim touched on it, but that became a rallying call for everybody. It's still something I think, and Denney, I hate to speak morbidly or thinking in the wrong, but when you die, my friend, if it's before me, which, I don't know, I'll make sure that that's on your tombstone, as long as you promise to put an L screaming above my, okay? Hey, not bad for a guy that wanted to switch his jobs, right? But I truly believe that Denney's greatest accomplishment is, let me start over again. What I truly believe is Denney's greatest accomplishment is the impact that he has had on the lives of our players and us as coaches, the guys that have trickled through here over the years as grad assistants and went on and doing multiple things like we were just talking about with the girls that have become college coaches, that are police officers, that are doing great and wonderful things out there in the world. His tough love method of being able to look at players, and coaches too for that matter, and not accept them for as they are, but show them what they're capable of being, I think is awesome. You know, one of the neatest experiences for me is when the alumni come back for our alumni weekend and they run into us from time to time. And they talk about their experience here. And I can remember when they were, it's still to this day, I've got players that will come up to me and say, Lytle, what do you think Denney will say if I go ask him this? Or how can I have, they think that he's unapproachable. He's just I want to say he's a teddy bear. He's really not. But he's a lovable grizzly bear. But it's really neat for me when the players come back and they want to talk about their experiences here, but more importantly, when they say how this experience at OCU changed their lives, how they become better men, better husbands, better fathers, better people in our society. That's what he does. I think that's his greatest gift back, is he shows you what you're capable of being. You might not realize it at the moment that it's taken place. I'm sure I'm getting stared at by a few individuals that have had to suffer through his man makers or his running in the gym for extra punishment. See, I never do that. I'm a good guy. I don't run. I get bored. I'd rather dig a ditch and watch somebody go run for punishment. That's always been Denney. But in that process, later, they realize what he's taught them and how to grow up. I've watched him turn a lot of little boys into grown men. You might not realize it at the beginning, the process. You might not realize it even the day that you immediately exit this university for the last time. But at some point in time, I guarantee you, they get it. And they look back, and that's what I get the pleasure of.